I'm the Director of Finance.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, I'm going to start again. My name is Mahita Cizak. I'm the Director of Finance here at the Department of Family and Support Services. I've been in my role, it will be 2 years in October, and I have a fantastic finance team that has undergone some changes over the past year. And I want to introduce you to Antonio Zamran. He is our new Supervisor of Accounting who joined mid-June. We're so excited to have him on board. You all will be working very close with him as we proceed into the budget revision process. Also on the team, we have Darnetta Anderson, who is our accountant primarily for our enrichment portfolio, as well as for our summer program models, SYEP, as well as our Chicago Youth Service Corps. Next, we have our accountant, Tina Ng, who was unable to join us today. She is also a longstanding accountant here at DFSS. She was previously within our Senior Services Division and has transferred over to the Youth and Workforce Divisions as of mid-June. We're also very excited to have her on our team. She will be the primary accountant as it relates to prevention and intervention, as well as the Chicago Ability program model for our summer program. And last but not least is Emma Salamilo Hine. She is our contracted staff member who is our finance officer that joined our team for additional assistance last March. You may have worked with her as it relates to our P&I portfolio, as well as our Chicago Ability summer program. She's also providing assistance for other divisions here at DFSS. So we're also glad to have her on our team. And our accounting technician, which used to be filled by Muriel Buckner, is currently vacant. Muriel has transitioned over our Senior Services Division. So we are currently in the process of filling that vacancy. In the interim, our accountants, Darnetta and Tina, will also be conducting delegate agency voucher reviews. So if they have not done so already, you may have been familiar with them outreaching to your agency for any corrections that may be needed or guidance around vouchering. Okay, the objectives for today's webinar is we are going to provide an overview of the standard budget form and budget revision process. This is basically to provide support and technical assistance to our DFSS contracted youth delegate agencies and ensure that they are prepared so that they're able to complete these budget revisions. Our target audience is our delegate agency staff, who may be new to this process or those that need a refresher. I'm gonna pass it on to my co-presenter, Antonio.
Good morning, everyone. So at this time, I have uploaded the budget forms that will be used. They are the updated ones that will be on the city website soon, and also a copy of the presentation as well. This way, if you would like to follow along, my recommendation would be having the budget form. We're basically going to be going through it in detail in regards to every single lines. And if there's any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll try to monitor that, and then of course also send out a summary at the end if there's any questions that we're not able to answer at this time. So the city does provide a standard budget form which has been uploaded. The one thing that you will see on a lot of the forms will be the yellow shaded area, which would be the information that's going to be entered on the budget forms. Okay, next slide. The budget forms are made up of basically 3 sections. You have the Form 1, which is the budget summary. Form 2 will be for personnel, and Form 3 will be for the non-personnel budget. As you go through the budget process, or for those agencies that have already gone through it, some of the cells are locked. And again, the only cells that you'll be able to enter information in will be the shaded area. So you are going to see that throughout the slides. It's just that common reminder that the information, the data is only to be inputted into the yellow slides, or the yellow cells, that is. Uh, The budget form has three sections. The Form 1 has the header, which is your general information for the agency. You also have the middle section on the budget form, which is the budget lines. And then at the bottom, you have the signatures for the delegate agency and the department as well. And again, just a consistent reminder as we go through the slides that only the shaded yellow areas on the Excel spreadsheets will be for the data. Okay, next slide. So this is an example of Form 1 for the budget forms. Once again, at the very top, you'll be able to see sections A through Q, which is the header information for the budget forms. In the middle is basically the budget lines. That's basically where all your budget information will flow from the next spreadsheets onto Form 1. All the cells are formulated. So the information that you enter in the following forms or budget worksheets will flow into Form 1. And at the bottom, you have the signature portion, which would be the delegate agency signature and the department signature as well in the bottom right-hand corner. On the budget form, for letters A through G and letter S, that's going to be the information that the agency will fill in. We also have the delegate agency name, the program name, the preparer name, email address, and phone number. This information should be for the individual that will be responsible to respond to any questions in regards to the budget. We have the supplier site, the federal employee identification number, which is section here. So I'm basically just going through all the sections on Form 1. And we also have the signature of the delegate in the bottom signature portion of the form. Once again, just a reminder, it should be the individual listed on the signature authorization form, which will be the individual that will be able to respond to questions in regards to the budget. Form 2 will be for personnel. It's going to list the personnel positions, the fringe benefits, and just a reminder, make sure we fill in the shaded areas only on the budget forms. Form 2, it's going to begin with the personnel expenses. It's the personnel form, so it'll be the personal cost, which would be account number 0005, the salary and salary adjustment. And as I stated previously, the cells are formulated, so the data that you enter will flow and the total will be in line 12 of the Form 2, which is for the personnel. The agencies will only complete columns 1 through 6. So if you're following along, I'm on Form 2. So it'll be columns 1 through 6, 8, and 11 for the position. For the fringe benefits, that's going to be account number 0044, life insurance, workers' compensation, health insurance, unemployment insurance, dental plans, and Medicare. And that information, the total amount of the fringe benefits will be identified in line 19. Complete lines, complete rows 13 through 18 on the fringe benefit, and line 17 and 18 will be for your other calculations. And again, if you're viewing the form, it is shaded in yellow for the data to be entered in those columns. The electronic version of the budget forms would automatically transfer. It'll flow the data from the other forms onto Form 2 as well. If needed, we have Forms 2A, 2B, and 2C. This is an example of Form 2, as we have stated. Position or column 1 would be for the position title. It doesn't have to be specific to the individual name, as long as it's the title, that's fine. We have line 2, which is the number of employees. The annual salary would be in column 3. Column 4 would be the pay periods, and we actually have in a later worksheet, we also have an example of the pay periods. We have the hours per pay period, the percentage of time. Column 7 will be automatically formulated. once the previous information or data is entered. We have the grant award share for line 8, 9 and 10 will be 9 will be other share, 10 will be the total program cost. And then the job responsibilities for line 11, once again, just very important, ensure to fill in the description for the job responsibilities of the particular position title. And at the bottom, we have the fringe benefits, line 13, Social Security, 14, Medicare, and very important under the calculations piece of it, please ensure to enter the calculation for the rate. And 17, 18 will be other items for the fringe benefits, and the total will appear at the bottom of the column. If the personnel budgeted positions do not fit, there are forms 2A, 2B, and 2C if needed. And again, those totals will flow over to form 2A, and also from there it'll flow over to the first form on page 1. Just a reminder, just the shaded areas only, please. Here we have an example of form 2A. Again, this is only if needed. It's basically in the same format where you'll be able to enter the position title, the number of employees. If you have a youth coordinator and you have 4 youth coordinators, you'll enter 4 annual salary, hourly wages. Also keep in mind, if you have a salary employee, the number of hours won't be required. If you do have an hourly employee, that will be required. Hours per pay period, percentage of time budgeted, grant share, and again, just a reminder, the job responsibilities is an important field to fill in as well. Basically, at this time, we'll just be going through it in more detail. For column 1, which is the position titles, please ensure to list all the positions needed to run the funded program. Column 2 would be the number of employees. If you have a youth coordinator and you have 4, then in that particular area, that would be in that area. Column 3 is the annual or hourly wage. For each position listed in column 1, indicate the annual salary or hourly wage. Yes, I'm sorry. The shaded area does refer to the yellow highlighted on the budget forms. So whenever the form stated the shaded area, that is correct. It will be the yellow area where you enter the data in. For column 4 will be the number of pay periods. For each position listed in column 1, indicate the number of pay periods to be paid during the term award. And at the bottom, we'll go over the little graph that's located at the bottom. Column 5 will be the hours per pay period. For each position listed in column 1, when an hourly rate is used, indicate the number of hours that will be worked per pay period. If the hours are not constant, please use an average. For the salaried employee, it should be blamed for the hours per pay period. Column 6 is the percentage of time budgeted on project. For each position listed in column 1, indicate the percentage of time to be spent on the program. And at the bottom, this is a screenshot. It is reflective of the pay periods for the enrichment program, depending on how the programs are run. We have the year-round program highlighted in blue. We have the school year program and the summer and school breaks as well. For column 7, we have the maximum compensation for each pay period and per employee. This will be the maximum allowed to voucher for this position for each pay period. If the amount that is billed is more than the amount than what is on the approved budget, that amount will be disallowed. And this is a common item that we do see when vouchers are submitted and are rejected for this reason. For every position listed on form 2 through 2C, this column will be automatically populated by a form based on the information entered in the grant share column. That is one of the cells that has a formula. So the formula would be the grant award share divided by the number of pay periods. And again, just a reminder, the yellow highlighted areas would be the information that the agencies would be able to enter the data in. Column 8 would be the grant award share. Please indicate the amount of total salary costs from column 10 to be paid with city or private funds. And just the rule, the grant award share can be equal to or less than the total cost. The grant award share can never exceed the total cost. So if you do see that, then that will be a red flag. It will basically go back and review the data that was just entered. For column 9, which is the other share, the form will automatically compute the amount of the other share. The other share should never be a negative number. And you're probably going to run into that when you're entering the data at first. And just keep that in mind. If it's a negative number, then please go ahead and revisit your data that's being entered. The formula is column 10 minus column 8 for that one. Column 10 will be the total program cost. This column will be automatically populated by formulas based on the information entered in columns 2 through 6 of Form 2 of the personnel budget. For item 13 and 14, we have the Social Security and Medicare, which is the fringe benefits. We have the FICA, Federal Insurance Contribution Act. The total cost will be computed automatically by the form based on the total salary cost. An example of the computations are right below, which is the total salary cost times the 6.20% for Social Security. And the total salary cost for the Medicare is, for the Medicare would be the total salary cost times the 1.45%. And just keep in mind for 13 and 14 for the fringe benefits, just make sure that the calculation is entered under the calculations column, please. For item 15, we have the state unemployment insurance, and the rate does vary by agency. Item 16 would be the state workers' compensation, and that as well, the rate varies by agency. And then we have items 17 and 18, which is the other fringe costs that benefit the program in the total cost column. An example of that would be health insurance, dental, 401k. That would be in the other fringe for lines 17 and 18. Under the calculations column, show all computations of the total cost. Computation section cannot be left blank. And once again, that area is highlighted in yellow as well to be able to enter that data. The fringe benefits for the grant award share indicate the amount will be applied to the grant. The other share, the form will automatically compute the amount of fringe benefits in that particular column. The formula would be the total costs minus grant award share equals the other share. Other share should never be a negative number, and the at this time that's the summary for the total personnel costs for the form. So we've gone through Form 1, which is the first page of the budget, which has a summary of your budget lines. Form 2 is the personnel budget, and then we'll be flowing now into the non-personnel expenses. This is an example of Form 3, which is the non-personnel expenses. It includes the operating technical, professional and technical services, travel, materials and supplies. Equipment is not applicable to the youth division. We have the indirect cost, and we'll go over that in detail as well. And then we have the other sections, which can be used for field trips, stipend, for those agencies that are part of the centralized payroll, that would be included in the other, in that other row as well. And again, for the indirect costs, there is required language, a standard required language, which we'll be able to go through in a couple of the slides. For the operating and technical costs, It's account 0100. Some of the descriptions would be auditing, insurance, the utilities, maintenance equipment, memberships, Zoom subscriptions, platform-based services that entails a subscription. For this particular area, please ensure that descriptions are entered for the other administrative costs. Make sure that the descriptions are not vague. Description should be tied to the specific bills and costs that will be reimbursed. If including rent, make sure that you include the up-to-date rental agreement with the budget. If including leasing of a van, make sure you also include an agreement, the lease agreement for that. The next line would be the professional and technical services, account 0140. This would be for consultants, subcontractors, coordinators, instructors, accounting services, IT services, and speakers. If including coordinators and instructors on this line, remember that this is someone who is not on your payroll, so they will not appear on Form 2 for the personnel. This will be someone as someone who won't appear on Form 2. Travel account number 0200. This is only for staff travel for any mileage, parking, Uber, Lyft, any transportation costs for field trips for the youth will be listed under the 0999, which would be that other. For the materials and supplies, account 0300, and some examples of these would be office supplies, program for supplies, fuel for agency vehicles. The gasoline gift cards will go in this particular section. No more than $25 for 3 weeks per youth. We have snacks, materials, books, laptops, and the software depending on your program. Be aware that this is where you would account for those youth that need gas cards and fuel for agency vehicles. Chicago, just a reminder, Chicago ability agencies are not eligible to distribute gas cards for youth. Again, when conducting intake, screen your youth to gauge if they will need gas cards instead of the ventral cards because they have their own vehicles and will be using it to get to work. See attached guidance and tracking sheets for gift cards and gas cards. We do have an example of that in this slideshow, so we'll be able to see what the tracking sheets look like for the gift cards and gas cards. And please note, fuel should be listed under line 0300. Gas cards should be listed under the 0999. For the indirect cost, there are 4 options for the indirect costs, which agencies will be required to choose one. We do have the option 1, which is the 10% de minimis rate. Please ensure when you are choosing one of the 4 options, they are entered into the description and justification for total cost cell. For the indirect, please ensure to enter for example, we have letter A, enter agency name that confirms that he has never had a federally approved indirect cost and elects to use the 10% de minimis rate. Once again, that is standard language, so please ensure to enter the standard language into the cell when you are choosing your indirect cost. Option B or option 2 would be the federally approved rate. This confirms that there is a federally approved indirect cost rate. And please ensure to attach a copy of the approved indirect cost rate when submitting your budget, and also when submitting your revised budget as well. Please ensure that it's accompanied with both if you do have a federally approved indirect cost rate. And once again, this is standard language to be entered into the cell for the description and justification for that particular column. Option 3 would be the state approved rate. Again, agency name confirms that there is a state of Illinois approved indirect cost pursuant to the state of Illinois. Please ensure to attach a copy of the approved indirect cost rate. Once again, standard language. Just ensure that this standard language is entered into the cell when choosing the indirect rate. And then the final option would be option 4, elect to decline indirect cost recovery. And that would be stated exactly as is if your agency is going to decline the indirect costs. For the other columns, again, for the non-personnel, which is a Form 3, the allowable cost would be for other 0999 would be the field trip admissions, bus rental for field trips, incentives for youth participants, program support, uniforms, venture cards, incentives for newly employed youth workers for job training program, and support for ARP agencies. Another example would be youth wages 0999. Please ensure to include the attachment A with the youth wage calculation, and also for those agencies that are part of centralized payroll, that would be also entered with the 0999 for the budget. And again, just a reminder for if it applies for the youth wages, for example, in this particular slideshow, include attachment A, and we also have an example of that as well. Incentives can be items for end of program celebrations such as gift cards, gift card to bookstore, back to school supplies, supportive services for scan model. Other also for 099 will be the coaches. That would the agency would have to describe the job responsibilities and include attachment B with the calculation for the coaches, coordinators, and instructors' wages for attachment B. And again, for those centralized payroll agencies, other would be ADP, and this is again if you're participating for the centralized payroll for the youth wages. With the budget revision that's coming up, if it's needed, there is no modifying this particular line. And again, as stated below, no budget revision changes to the centralized payroll agencies on this line item. Agencies on centralized payroll, show your workers' compensation on the second line of 0999, gross salary paid for by ADP times the 0.011. Note everyone has a varied rate. This is an example of the scan model, which is the allowable cost for scan. These are the 2022 allowable costs. If there are any questions with this particular, with these allowable costs, delegates must reach out to their assigned liaison if they have questions about approved supportive service requests. This is an example of attachment A for the participants' wage computation. Fill in the gross salary, and then also, of course, just ensure to input the calculation on the far right-hand side. So it'll be the number of interns in the program times the number of hours interns will work per week, times the cost per hour, times the number of weeks in the program. The Social Security line will be next, and the computation is shown on the right-hand side. Please ensure to show that. We have the Medicare, which is a following example. And again, the dollar amount times the rate of the 0145. And the agencies have federal unemployment insurance, state unemployment insurance, insurance costs, workers' comp, general liability would be the dollar amount and the computation that would reflect that. And the agency total wage expense, gross salary plus the agency share of taxes and fringe benefits for attachment A. Attachment B would be for the coaches, similar to attachment A, where it's the number of the coaches in the program times the number of hours coaches will work per week times the cost per hour times the number of weeks in the program. It shows a computation which will reflect the total in the middle column. 2 coaches times 25 hours times $18 times 8 weeks. We also have the Social Security with the computation on the far right-hand side. The following line would be an example, again, the Medicare computation on the far right-hand side, federal unemployment, state unemployment, the insurance costs, and the agency total wage expense, which would be the gross salary plus agency share of taxes and fringe benefits. just some guidance for the budget forms and just some reminders from some of the items. Review the gift card and CTA transit card policy. Verify that all of the shaded fields in yellow on all the budget forms are completed. Verify all budget pages are properly formatted and legible. Please do not cut off any descriptions or pages. Verify the correct number of budget pages are included. All budget forms of budget revision that are required to be submitted will be Form 1. Form 1A will be for the budget revision, Form 2 and Form 3. Verify the heading on Form 1 and Form 1A is correct. Verify the description and justification for each total cost requested is filled out on Form 3. Ensure 15% of administrative costs for Chicago Ability, Summer Youth Employment Program, and Chicago Youth Service Corps, and 15% match requirement with max 15% for administrative costs for enrichment agencies. The 2022 form must have the respective fund manager's name on the form. The budget must be signed and submitted to your assigned program liaison for approval. Frequently monitor your spending levels to determine if a budget revision is necessary. If so, please contact your program liaison for review and approval to submit a budget revision. And delegates must reach out to the program liaison if they have any questions about approved supportive service requests. This is an example, like I stated a couple of minutes ago, of the tracking sheet, the agency name at the top, the program name, the budget period, date of card purchase, and the beginning balance, number of cards that were purchased. And then this would be the format or the tracking sheet that will be used to distribute these cards out to the youth.
Thank you, Antonio.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to walk you over the budget revision process. First, it's identifying your approved budget, which will be based on your global PO number. Your global purchase order number for your contract will be listed on your award letter that was issued by our contracts team for all of your initial budgets. This also relates to item K that's noted on the budget summary form, Form 1. And it will all be located on the City of Chicago website, your approved budget. So you will need a copy of that to download. And then I just want to mention your standard purchase order release number. That is generated after your initial budget gets approved. That standard release purchase number is the number that you'll be utilizing when it comes to invoicing for goods and services on your approved contract budget. This also ties into item M, which is also on the budget summary form, which is Form 1. So the contract for your agency is not approved until the City of Chicago, the issuing department, in this case, Department of Family and Support Services, is fully executed and it's able to be downloaded on the city web. The link is here for your reference, and you would just put your contract PO number in order to retrieve the executed contract, which includes your approved budget. You will need that information as you proceed with your delegate agency budget revision request. So once you've retrieved your approved budget from the city's website, you will be indicating the approved dollar amount from that initial budget, and that will be in column 3, I'm sorry. And that will also be shaded in yellow, which we've covered a number of times during this presentation. Any areas where there are yellow is where we are looking for your agency to input information. A lot of these forms are relational, so when there's information that's inputted, there'll be some automatic calculations that take place. So once information is entered under the approved budget column 3, Form 2 and 3, with the revised amounts, will automatically calculate and complete columns 4 and 5 for you. Form 1A is a required form that's part of the budget revision request. For the initial budget, it's Form 1, 2, and 3 minimally. For budget revisions, it's going to be your Form 1, your Form 1A, 2, and 3. And then this is just a, screenshot of how Form 1A looks like for your revised budget. The approved budget, like I said, this information will be notated on your initially approved budget. So those values will need to be indicated before any other steps in regards to movements of dollars from one category to another. And then a signature will also be required by your delegate agency official, similar to the signature that's required for Form 1. It will also be required for Form 1A. And then a summary of the forms that we just covered. Form 1 is the budget summary form, which will be required as part of the budget revision request. Form 1A is going to be the revised contract budget. Form 2 will be your personnel budget and any adjustments that are needed. And Form 3 will be reflective of your non-personnel budget. Just to note that the budget forms are locked from editing certain areas, and you'll only be able to input information in the shaded yellow areas. And I want to take some time to go over some common budget revision errors that can result in delays in processing. We want to be upfront with identifying some issues that we have come across during the reviews, so you are aware as you're preparing these budget revisions. We typically see on Form 1 and Form 1A that the approved budget column may not fully be completed. We really need that information to be completed and reflective of what your initial budget approved dollar amounts were. So that information is a requirement under Form 1A under approved budget. And then, as mentioned, the instructions on how to retrieve the executed contract from the city website. That is also available to walk you through on how you're able to enter your global PO number so you can retrieve a copy of your executed contract budget. Form 1 and Form 1A, the agency should leave anything blank that says entered by department. Our department staff will be responsible for completing that information. Just focus on the areas that require entry by the agency. Moving on to Form 2 and Form 2A, common revision errors that we have ran across is in regards to Form 2. Sometimes the calculations for the fringe requests are not correct. Please verify these calculations so they are equaling up to the requested amount, so that we do not have additional delays in regards to fringe rates that are being requested and dollar amounts that are being requested, because that will take some time in order to reconcile. Please also make sure there are descriptions listed for the fringe benefits under lines 17 and 18. Oftentimes, there's a request for an additional fringe benefit without the description, and that is needed. Form 2 and 2A, agency adds a specific name instead of a staff position title. We are only requesting position titles rather than a specific employee name. And this is noted in the position title field. And for Form 3, sometimes agencies are not providing a detailed enough description under the description and justification column for that non-personnel request. Please ensure that there's a description provided, as well as being concise, but with providing enough information to support the request. Form 3 under other 0999, if your agency is requesting a stipend, please make sure that there's an attachment A that's detailing out the cost of the stipend request. Form 3, please refrain from requesting equipment. The definition of equipment is $5,000 or more for a single item. These typically are related to materials and supplies under that description. So please make sure that the request is categorized under the materials and supplies line, and provide some additional detail as to what that materials and supplies is. And then just a recap on indirect cost calculations. There was a question in the chat in regards to 10% de minimis. If your agency does not have an already approved federally negotiated indirect cost agreement, you are allowed to request a 10% de minimis rate. And the calculation that our city comptroller's office has requested to use is the approved budget amount divided by 1.1 times 10%. And we also provide an example for a budget allocation of 50,000 with the calculation to come up with the 10% requested amount. And this would just be adjusted based on your allocation if you are seeking the 10% rate. And then if you are not requesting an indirect cost, whether that's 10% de minimis, or you do not have a federal negotiated rate in place, please, enter elect to decline indirect cost recovery, which is option 4 out of the 4 standard boilerplate language options that are noted on Form 3. And if you are requesting a federally negotiated rate, please be sure to provide a copy with your submitted budget. And then this is just a recap of some policy changes that the Office of Budget and Management has rolled out as of last year, and more changes to come. One being that contracts and amendments, there will no longer be wet signatures required, and that a notary is no longer required. There's no longer a need for actual signature authorization forms, which was previously required. Budget revisions, budget amendments, the city will accept PDFs and will not require manual wet signatures. And then bank depository and EFT forms are also no longer required. So these changes, rolled out at the later part of 2021. There are more changes on the horizon, especially as it relates to a citywide effort to potentially get our current budget form within the financial system. And there's work around that that our Office of Budget Management is doing, and there'll be more updates provided once that is finalized. And this is a link to where all the resources that are available by the Office of Budget and Management for the city in regards to delegate agency invoicing, as well as links to forthcoming trainings. There is an online bidding training offered by Office of Budget Management this Friday, as well as an invoicing for iSupplier that will be Friday afternoon at 1 p.m. So I encourage you all to attend. Even as a refresher, always great information. Please have your questions ready for the Office of Budget Management team. The comptroller's voucher audit team also participates, so they'll be also available to address any questions as it relates to vouchers. But just wanted to highlight this link on where these resources are available and encourage you all to attend these upcoming trainings. And last but not least, important deadlines for the program. The summer program, as well as the enrichment summer program model deadlines for budget revisions to our department is September 1st, 2022. Please send those requests directly to your program manager liaison, and they will be sure to complete a preliminary review and forward it on to the finance team. And then for our annually funded agencies that have a contract budget period of January 1st to December 31st, budget revisions are due back on or before September 30th. And then just a reminder for invoicing, especially as it relates to the calendar year, January 31st, 2023 is when any remaining vouchers as it relates to 2022 will be due, including resubmissions and iSupplier. Please be sure to continue to voucher on a monthly basis or more frequently, especially the summer programs. Also want to note that during the budget revision process, our team is unable to submit the budget revision for the comptroller's approval unless all invoices that are pending are fully closed out within the system. The financial system is literally able to take one action at a time. So we ask that you hold off during the budget revision approval process. Once that budget revision is fully approved, you will be able to resume vouchering based on that approved budget revision. And just a reminder for year-end vouchers, please do not combine 2 calendar years into one voucher. So we should not be receiving vouchers that include 2022 as well as 2023 costs. These need to be separated and respective of each year. And if there are any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to the finance team. Once again, my name is Mahita Cizak, Director of Finance here at the Department of Family and Support Services. Antonio Zamran, the Supervisor of Accounting, Darnetta Anderson, Tina Ing, the assigned accountants for the youth portfolio, and Emma, our finance officer, who is providing some assistance as needed for our portfolios for youth. And our vacant accounting technician, hope to have that filled by our next training. Thank you for your time. And I'm gonna, it looks like we still have a few minutes, so I wanna go through the chat to see if there's any questions that may have not been addressed. Do we need to supply a justification letter with our revision? I would reach out to your assigned youth service coordinator to follow up if a letter is needed for their specific portfolio. The finance team does not require a formal letter to be submitted. So I do encourage you to reach out to your assigned program liaison for further guidance. The budget revision form, those will be uploaded on the city's website. We can follow up with providing a link to the website. It is the same website where all contractual information as it relates to scope of services and budgets that were required to be completed in the beginning of the year for initial contract budgets. The updated forms will also be posted there. And the forms were also sent out within the chat by Antonio, and your program manager and liaison also have copies of the forms that they can follow up and share with you as well. Thank you, Evelyn. Are there caps on budget categories, not including centralized payroll? If we budgeted 6K for snacks, but only spent 4K. So this looks like this is a question for your program liaison and manager. Please be sure to keep in touch with them and letting them know what the status is in regards to how you initially budgeted and the need for any movements, and they will be able to review and provide approval. Is it possible to download the slide presentation in the chat? I believe the copy of the presentation was provided at the beginning of the presentation webinar, and it looks like Antonio responded to that, so thank you. Okay, what date are vouchers due every month? We recommend that they be submitted by the 15th of the month. As I mentioned, there are some summer programs that need to voucher more frequently, to maintain cash flow. So that might be on a bi-weekly basis, but minimally by the 15th of the month. I'm copying Mary Turks because I didn't read or hear to respond. Okay, we covered this in regards to reallocation and funds and reaching out to your assigned program manager and liaison for your agency. go back to the contract slide. Okay, I will go back. Are we permitted to include reimbursements from employee purchases in the grant award share purchases made for our program, but not with our company credit card? If it is a part of your approved budget and you're able to provide supporting documentation to support that purchase, I don't see an issue with submitting for reimbursement as long as the required supporting documentation is needed and it's part of your approved budget. Budget revision will not be processed until invoice and the iSupplier for the budgets are paid. Correct. So our team is unable to submit a budget revision to the city comptroller's office for final approval unless all invoices that are pending that have been submitted are go through the entire approval process. Once they are approved that have been pending, then the team is able to submit that budget revision for approval. Yes. Okay, and now I'm going to go back to the contracts slide. Okay, Nathaniel Arlington, I am back on the contract slide. Did you have a question or did you?
I believe it was a contact slide, Mahita.
Oh,
The,
contact, I'm sorry. I misread that. Okay. Thank you all. Appreciate you taking time this morning with the team to review this information as we prepare for budget revisions. Please reach out to your assigned youth service coordinator, program manager, liaison. And we appreciate all the hard work that you have been doing over the past year. Hasn't been easy. We appreciate you and everything that you are doing for the City of Chicago youth. Thank you.
Evelyn, I
Thank
have
you,
a
everyone.
quick question before you go.
Thanks, Mahita. Thanks, Antonio.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so forgive me if this has already been answered. I know that we were under in terms of attendance. So my question was to look at holistically is it specifically for if an individual is going over 120, or if we look at the total hours of our program where we didn't pay out 120 hours for each participant each week, and we have hourly, I guess, because we didn't exhaust our budget based on us.
Right, but
Yes.
so Candace, so this is why I kept asking for the clarification. So even though you're not going to exceed your youth wage allocation, the description says 50 youth times 15 times 20 hours times 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
If you have young people that haven't exceeded the 120, you're fine. That's why I was saying no revision.
Mhm.
Now, if you have young people who started late, so let's say they started third week and went through August 31st, you're fine, still no revision. However, if you have young people who are planning to work an additional 7 hours, 10, 20 hours, because the description is locked, if I were to allow you to go ahead and voucher, it's going to come back as a deletion, because what's going to happen is the voucher unit's going to look at it and say, well, no, your budget description says 50 youth, 120 hours, 6 weeks. You know what I mean? So, or I'm sorry, 20 hours, 6 weeks. So that's why at this point, you're going to have to show the actual, even though you're staying within the budget allocation.
Okay.
That's so, because when when I provide that kind of guidance, I try to think as an auditor as well, because it's one thing like programs can say, yeah, you can absolutely do that. Finance is going to say, well, did you look at the description of what you allocated? Because I give a cost allocation plan for all 3 programs. And so later on when you're audited, they'll question it and say, well, why is it that this register has 140 hours on this young person, 160 when your description said 120. So if
Okay,
you,
great. So
so
if youth is over 120 hours, we have to do the revision.
correct.
Got it. That's very clear. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Other questions, folks?
Yeah, Evelyn, I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Hey, Melanie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Good. Okay, so I'm dealing with SYEP. So it seems that the young people have June hours and July hours in the same payroll.
Why do they have June hours if we started July 5th?
Right. So their hours, I'm not sure what happened with HR.
Okay.
But I'm seeing June, like that last week of June, and then they're having their first week of July. All those payroll hours are in the same register. So I hope when I do the voucher, I think I might run into problems. So I'm not sure how I can. I'm seeing the pay period dates.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they're separated by pay period date, but they're still on that one. They all got paid in that one payroll, that first period in July. So I'm not sure how to document that.
Sure. No, that's, I would say to defer to the finance team, because if you have young people paid that last week of June and you have a second week in July, that's 2 months. That's June and July. I'm looking around. I don't know, Antonio or Darnetta, like how do we respond to that if the pay period overlaps into 2 months?
All right, Darnetta, would you be able to help us out with that?
Hi, you talking about as far as for vouchering?
Yeah, because it looks like there's the last week of June and the first week of July. I mean, this could also be,
Yeah, from what I was told, I believe that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an exception, I'm sorry. Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
it's an
I was
exception
trying
because
to
it's on the
find-
payroll.
I was
I'm
trying to
sorry.
find my register because yeah, the two pay periods were paid on one payroll.
Yes, that's fine as long as you have the backup documentation.
Perfect.
Oh, well, there you go. You heard it from finance.
That was easy.
All right, well, nothing else. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate
Then
it.
I
Thank
will
you,
conclude
guys.
this. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.